is hauntformer, and everyone, if you've been living under a rock, you may not know that Spirit Halloween's flagship location has opened today, which means all of Spirit Halloween Superstore's brand new animatronics, decorations, themes, etc., are out on the table, and we are ready to dive into the juiciness that is the 2019 season. So today, what I'm going to be doing is ranking every Spirit Halloween new animatronic for 2019, though I do have a couple of stipulations and little asterisks before we start. First thing is, I'm not going to be including any of the online-only exclusive animatronics. So, Twisty, Terror Dog, Blood Brothers, etc., will not be on this list. They are online-onlys. We won't see them in the stores, though I have talked about them on the sneak peek videos. Up next, there are some new animatronics that were not featured in sneak peeks that I will be mentioning throughout this video. We saw them at the Flagship store. Most of you have heard of them, but maybe some of you haven't. I'm talking about Headless Help, Mr. Toots, and Jack Straw, and you'll see when I get to those in a moment. And one other thing is that I won't be including any of the returning animatronics. So Cerberus and Cocoon Corpse and stuff like that will not be on this list either. So, without any more delay, and remember that these are all my opinions, so don't get your panties in a wad if I rank something lower than you wanted. We're going to jump into the list. Remember that every animatronic this year, in my opinion, has been pretty good. None have been bad. There are just some that I like more than others. So, with that being said, let's jump into the rankings, shall we? There have been 15, count it, 10 and 5 animatronics this year, including the 3 that I'm going to get to in a moment. We are going to start with my least favorite, number 15, the Collector. Now I can already see people typing away on their keyboards. How can you say the Collector is a horrible prop? I'm not saying he's a horrible animatronic, but out of all the ones we've seen this year, he is definitely my least favorite. I kind of had the same gripes that I had with Nightmare Harvester, though I do like him a lot more now, having seen him in stores, so my opinions could change. But as of now, the Collector, to me, the big head and the cartoonish look, it just doesn't scream scary to me. He's very eye-catching, don't get me wrong, but I wish he could have been more unique looking, and they played it very safe with his design. Almost like he looks like one of those hanging Walgreens ghouls that we see every year at typical Halloween stores. There's just something missing. And I love the Grim Reaper as a character, but more often than not, animatronics and decorations about the Grim Reaper look more generic than they do interesting. So for that reason, the Collector is number 15. At number 14, we have the Graveyard Ghoul. The Graveyard Ghoul, if you watched my sneak peek video on him, really hit me in the feels. The nostalgia of the 2009-2010 cemetery era of animatronics. So it's great to have another cemetery prop. But to me, the Ghoul just seems barren. He's either too expensive and should be cheaper, or should be the same price but with something more added. There's just not enough here to justify a purchase, at least for me, and looks like something that a haunter could make with a simple wiper motor at home. Not a bad animatronic, looks creepy and everything, and spooky, but I feel like there's more animatronics that are more unique that you could spend your money on. Therefore, he's at number 14. At number 13, the great old lucky number, we have Crouchy the Clown. Now, Crouchy is a huge animatronic. If you've seen any videos or photos of the Flagship store, he is big in the store. Very creepy looking. I love the stance, and I especially love that large gaping mouth on his head. He's a creepy animatronic, though the animation really falls flat for me. It lacks the uniqueness of the design, and what's worse is the price. He's very expensive, and again, for that awkward animation that looks like he's dancing, to me, it just doesn't justify a purchase. However, if this guy were a static prop with the same look, I would definitely rank him a lot higher because, honestly, he's one of the best creepy clowns I've seen in quite some time. Number 12 is the tortured torso. So when I saw this prop at first glance, I thought he was going to be one of my favorites because I love zombies, and I love zombies without legs for some reason. Perhaps it's because of my nostalgia for the death crawler that I had, or have technically, though he doesn't work. But to me, this guy just doesn't go all the way with the concept. If he's supposed to be a tortured guy, he should be screaming and flaring around and looking scared. But instead, they made him a zombie, they gave him generic audio, and while the face is creepy and the animation, it just doesn't quite hit the same scary notes that it could have. Maybe in the future they'll make that. Perhaps it was too gory to do something like that. But they have pulled it off before, and I hope Spirit can affix this guy because the animation and the detail is really quite good, though just doesn't quite justify a purchase for me. At number 11, we have Experimental Eddie. A lot of people really love Eddie this year. Some people are calling him the best animatronic of 2019. I can certainly see why. He's a pretty unique prop, and the animation's really well done, and he looks super cool, throwing back to the classic Frankenstein monster. Though to me, I would have liked to have seen a licensed Frankenstein like we saw from Jemmy several years back. But regardless, Eddie is pretty cool. My biggest gripe with Eddie is not necessarily the prop itself, but the theming that it can fit in. To me, this guy really can only fit in like a creepy castle or like a laboratory setting. Anything outside of that, like a cemetery or even a hospital, would just seem kind of off and weird, especially with his green skin tone. Perhaps that's just me, but while he's a cool animatronic, I'm not going to get him this year just because there are so many others that I prefer. Though Eddie is quite sweet. We're in the top 10 territory. Number 10 goes to one of those ones that I said is new, Headless Help. So we haven't, at least at this point when I'm filming this, haven't seen a sneak peek on Headless Help. He, to me, really harkens back to those early Jimmy animatronics, especially like the Headless Bride and stuff. He is a headless guy, as the name suggests, like a butler holding both a tray and his head, and he says creepy phrases and looks around. It's quite cool. He reminds me, especially with the color scheme and the outfit, of an animatronic from Disney's Haunted Mansion, which I'm a big fan of. Again, he seems like something we've seen before, and that's not a bad thing because the design is pretty sweet, but as you'll see with the other animatronics on the list, they have a more unique design than this guy, though I have to respect the ingenuity put into the character design because he really looks like something out of a Disney ride, which is pretty awesome. Therefore, the Headless Help gets the number 10 spot. Hiya, Georgie! Number 9 is Pennywise. I think it was safe to say that Pennywise really wrapped up the sneak peeks on a positive note. He takes the design from Forest Demon, mixed with this great-looking animatronic Pennywise, and together, that's like a match made in heaven, or in this case, Derry. He's really cool, and I can see why so many people love him. If you watch my video where I really got into talking about him, you'll know that I don't collect a lot of Pennywise merchandise, so to me, he's not one that I'm willing to spend that much money on. Though I think he's going to be a hot seller, so if you want him, jump on it fast, because it is a popular property. At number 8, we have Waving Wally. So my opinions on Wally have kind of changed slightly throughout the season. When I first saw him, I really liked him, but after seeing the price and the audio, I wasn't a big fan. But having seen constant videos of him and people purchasing him, I can understand why so many people love Wally. And really what it comes down to is that creepy face and the creepy motion he has. He's a classic vintage clown, and he owns it. He is one of the best clown animatronics I've ever seen, and I certainly understand why so many people like him. For me, he slightly falls flat because of one, the hefty price tag, which I think could be lower. He should be like $150, $160. But also the audio, I feel like should have just been creepy noises or no audio at all, and also bring down that price slightly. Other than that, Wally is a great clown. Number 7 goes to the first sneak peek that we officially saw, Bloodthirsty Betty. So, Betty is this creepy girl that you can either set on the wall or on like a bed, and she pops her head up and screams. She's quite creepy and one of the scariest animatronics of the year. I've loved her ever since she came out. There have been some animatronics that have eclipsed her in terms of my favorites, though I have to say Betty is, for the price, a great steal. At number 6, we have another one of those animatronics that hasn't quite been sneak peeked, and that is Mr. Toots. So yeah, kind of a funny name. Mr. Toots is actually one that I really enjoy, though he is a little bit expensive. He's $130, and essentially he is a clown inside of this little clown car. His knees are kind of buckled up underneath his chin. It's actually quite humorous, but also creepy at the same time. And if you've seen photos of him, he's much bigger in person, judging by some of the tours that I've seen thus far. He's pretty cool. I love the unique design of the clown, and I've never really thought about a clown car animatronic, but having seen it, I really like it. I don't know if I'm going to get him. I'm not sure. Sometimes the low riding ones are hard to see, especially on Halloween when it's dark outside. But regardless, I have to say this is one of the most unique animatronics of the year, and one that I'm pretty fond of. Top 5, top 5, top 5. Here we are, the top 5 animatronics of the year. And this next one is, again, the final one that we haven't seen sneak peeks of, and that is Jack Straw. So, Jack Straw is one that, among the Halloween community, is a great and popular animatronic. Essentially, he's like Demonic Dahlia, where he kind of sits up, but he's a scarecrow, and that makes him all the more interesting. The face on him is really sweet, very creepy, and as much as everyone loves a good scarecrow, the animation only doubles down on the coolness that Jack Straw is. Plus, that name's pretty sweet too. Overall, he's gonna be a great addition for any 2019 haunted house. Going along with Jack, number 4 goes to Demonic Dahlia. Both Jack and Dahlia are essentially the same animatronic, just with different skins on them. But to me, Demonic Dahlia kind of fits the look a little bit better. Perhaps that's just because I'm comparing it to old Distortions animatronics. But Dahlia has a creepy, like, crouched, like, old woman position, and then lunges at you. Though Jack is really interesting to look at too, Dahlia might be more scary, though I have to admit the face on Jack is pretty sweet as well. So both of these are awesome, and what really makes them worth the while is the brand new module that we've seen on these. They're very scary. My only gripe and worry with these two is that I hope that module doesn't die out, and I hope it can keep trudging through season after season. Only time will tell, but from the outset, they're great animatronics. Here we are, the top 3. Number 3 is going to go to Abandoned Annie. Now, a lot of people might find this kind of controversial. Certainly, Annie is one of the smaller animatronics this year, though I have to say I love how they made this thing work. The mouth opening is a really cool design. My biggest flaw with it is that the mouth opening doesn't happen very often throughout the prop's cycles of when it speaks. But just from a pure outlook of this animatronic, I really like it. Annie's very creepy. She can fit in with a lot of different haunted houses and displays. I'm a big fan of creepy dolls, so I'm certainly going to try to get her this year. Annie is a pretty sweet new addition to Spirit Halloween. Alright, number 2. The last couple ones are really hard to get through because I like a lot of these almost the same. But number 2, I'm going to give to Rusty. Now, some people have said that Rusty is the worst animatronic of the year. Some people, like me, have really liked him. When I first saw the photos of him, I was kind of like, eh. But after rewatching the videos, seeing him in stores and stuff, and realizing that other than Leatherface, he's the only animatronic with a chainsaw, he's certainly one of my favorites of the year and maybe of the past several years. I'm guessing he's made by Techie Toys, and the sitting mechs that they have usually last a long time. I know my Thrashing Clown and Death Row lasted for quite some time. In fact, the latter is still working. So I'm pretty confident in saying that this is going to be a pretty well-made animatronic. The look is creepy, and I don't really have any Scarecrow or Farm type stuff. So Rusty here will be a great addition to my personal collection, but I also think he's just scary enough to justify many purchases. That is number 2. And number 1, you can probably tell where this is going. I haven't mentioned one animatronic yet. A lot of people have said he's the best. I would have to agree. Number 1 is Sam. So Sam is from the film Trick or Treat, which came out I think in 2007 and was directed by Michael Dougherty, the same guy who directed Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and Krampus, just to name a few of his projects. So Sam is a part of this anthology, and he kind of appears sporadically throughout the film, though he finally appears at the end for a good while, and you get to see both his sack face and then the face underneath of the sack. Both looks are seen in the film, and both are seen in this animatronic. My only complaint with him is that the stabbing motion should have the lollipop flip the other way around, as he kind of uses it like that in the film. But regardless, Sam, for the price and for the look, is great. I understand some people don't like him because they either don't like the movie or they're not fans of the licensed props, which I certainly understand where you're coming from. But as a movie buff like myself, Sam is going to be a great addition to my personal collection just here in my room and for my haunted houses, because regardless of if you know the movie or not, he looks like a creepy little booger. So, therefore, Sam is my favorite animatronic of 2019, though every animatronic this year has been fantastic. And I want to hear from you. What are your favorites and least favorites in terms of Spirit Halloween animatronics for 2019? I want to know, and I bet other people do too. Thank you guys very much for watching this ranking of all of the animatronics, all 15, not counting, of course, the online and returning stuff. But regardless, thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one. Remember, for all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.